Let's talk about a very interesting prospect in the middleweight division, debuting to the UFC this Saturday night. He is 6-0 and he's reeled off 6 first-round knockouts. This being 6'4" Zach Reese, who even on the regional scene, even dipped his toes in the light heavyweight division. But again, a perfect undefeated fighter with a vicious streak of knockouts. I think that Zach Reese has a lot of potential in the UFC. The way that he's been knocking out opponents, don't let the 6-fight record fool you. This guy is legit. Let's take a look at some of the highlights of Zach Reese.
Oh, Till's out! It's over!
It's over! It's over!
That's what I'm saying, boy! Oh! He got dropped! It's over! Munoz! Oh my God!
Zach Reese was brought into pro martial arts in peak fighting, and he showed his aggressiveness and lived up to the moniker Savage in these 2 fights. In the first fight, he was able to land a takedown and then finish his opponent with some brutal elbows up against the cage in mount. This was a beautiful and vicious finish, showing how dangerous this guy is. And then in his second fight, coming out hot with a lot of organizations keeping an eye on him, including Fight Pass Promotion, Fury FC, Zach wanted to put on a performance, and a performance he did. He was able to land 2 takedowns in this fight, and on the second takedown, he was able to get his opponent's back, flatten him out, and then overwhelm his opponent with strikes, getting him out of there again in the first round, under 5 minutes. And he would move from peak fighting into Fury FC for their trip to Houston, Texas. Fury FC, an organization featured on UFC Fight Pass, so it would be just around the corner that he would get his opportunity there if he continued this streak of wins, and continue the streak of wins he did. His next fight would be against a debuting pro martial artist, and he would get him out of the octagon within a minute. He would finish him up against the fence with strikes, forcing his opponent to quit, really just overwhelming his opponent in the spot, finishing him quickly, and then bringing in the new year 4 months later. He would take on a guy with more experience at 6-3, Aaron Phillips, and would come out like he did in his second pro fight with some spinning attacks before his opponent Aaron Phillips got actually pretty deep on a single leg, but forgot about his neck. Zach Reese was quick to grab a guillotine submission and put his opponent to sleep. Aaron Phillips didn't tap out, so ultimately getting put to sleep in this fight, and he would best his last fight where he won in 55 seconds, winning this fight in under 35. So Fury FC had no choice but again to give Zach Reese another opportunity in the cage, and this time, at only 5-0, the UFC would already be watching to bring this kid into the Dana White Contender Series. To wrap up his Fury FC career, he would take on Tommy Britton, who actually stood nearly the same height as Zach Reese at around 6'3", but had a pretty unimpressive record of 5-10 coming into the contest. And Zach Reese would treat him like a 5-10 opponent, getting him out of there in again under a minute, landing some big shots to force Britton up against the fence. Britton falls over on intelligent defense, and the ref is forced to step in. Zach would make his call for the UFC at the end of this fight in his post-fight interview. He would call for the UFC to give him the opportunity and make his intentions clear that that's where he wanted to go next, asking for a bonus in a pretty funny interview.
5-0, 5 first round wins. What's next for you?
I want UFC or bust, man. I need to start stacking up some UFC bonuses because I got some dumb shit I want to buy.
But nonetheless, the UFC would answer the call, bringing him into the Dana White Contender Series for the Week 3 episode in 2023. He would main event that episode in the middleweight division, and he would take on an Israeli fighter in Eli Aronov. Zach Reese's Fury FC career was rather interesting when you look at it from a macro. He didn't spend more than 135 seconds in cage in this run of fights. He finished his opponents too quickly, and his opponent's record, although this is normal for regional records, the opponent's combined record in those fights was 11-13. So not the most impressive, but still odds makers would give him his credit based on his finishes and line him up as a favorite. He would range from around -125 to around -166 from open to close, and his famous round 1 finish prop would come in around +200. So coming into the fight, Aronov would far and away be Zach Reese's best opponent. Way more physical in the stand-up, in my opinion, in the start of this fight, landing some clean shots. One of his best shots would come on a counter to a Zach Reese body kick that would end up getting Eli a recorded takedown. But getting overzealous, he would overextend, trying to land some ground and pound, and Zach Reese, with the finishing instinct, would lock in an armbar in this spot, forcing Eli to quickly tap out and getting Zach Reese another finish win, bringing us to his 6-0 current record. And again, he would do this in 72 seconds. Just non-stop finishes. No matter how he looks, good or bad, he still finds a way to finish opponents in under 2 minutes, and he did it again here on the premier stage. This would get him a contract, obviously, with the UFC, where he is now fighting an opponent on a fight night card. And if you were able to grab the sub prop in that Dana White Contender Series spot, you would have cashed 4-1. And if you got the first round submission prop, it played around 6.5-1. So that was a great play if you landed it. But nonetheless, that'll do it for today's video, guys. Let me know what you think about Zachary Reese. Do you think he can go far in the UFC? How long do you think he's going to remain undefeated going against the best of the best in the Ultimate Fighting Championship? I will see you in the next one. Peace out.